For decades, the proposed Northern Corridor bypass, located through the Red Cliffs Desert Reserve, has been a hot topic of contention. The 4 to 6 mile Northern Highway is designed to divert some of the traffic concerns that are already binding up I-15 at the St. George Boulevard exit. The St. George Area Chamber of Commerce hosted an Eggs and Issues update on the Northern Corridor with Washington County Attorney Eric Clarke.
It's a real bottleneck for our transportation planning in our community, right? And the way to get around that bottleneck is to have a bypass that would have not everybody who needs to get from Washington Hurricane over to Santa Clara Ivans having to go through that.
Those opposed to the transportation route through the Red Cliffs Desert Reserve say it will harm the habitat for the federally protected Mojave Desert tortoise. They're worried about speeding traffic and the development that could come along with the new road.
We set aside a ton of land to offset our ability to continue to, the white is private property, right? So for our ability to continue to develop in our area, we set that aside, and then we collect an impact fee, and the county employs a couple biologists, we fund studies, we fund plant restoration, we fund all these different things in the reserve to help with the tortoises.
A lawsuit filed by environmentalists to stop the construction of the Northern Corridor through the Biden administration's commitment to protect America's public lands has put a halt to any further development thus far.
This became the biological payment, the tortoise payment, to offset any impacts from the road. And we did it big enough that we thought nobody could argue that this isn't a net benefit for the tortoise, right? Like, putting this in isn't going to harm more tortoises than this is going to help protect. Zone 6 was created as part of our plan that we proposed, and Zone 6 is triggered by the state holding a valid right-of-way. So if a valid right-of-way through the reserve. So if that right-of-way goes away, then Zone 6 protections go away also. And the school trust lands immediately become developable. Like, it'll all happen on the same day. But this is how many tortoises are impacted by the road, and this is how many tortoises are impacted if this gets put into homes, right? Like, if this all gets developed, I think it's a pretty safe bet that this is going to go away.
Clarke says there are 3 possible designated routes which run from exit 13 at Washington City north of the Red Hills Parkway.
We studied 3 different routes that would go through the reserve. The yellow one is the one the traffic planner said, hey, that's the cheapest and the most direct, following the topography. The purple one is the one we actually went after, because we were working with the biologists in the federal agencies, and they said, hey, we want to be as close to the boundaries we can be with you still meeting your traffic need.
However, 2 alternative routes would connect on and off ramps at Red Hills Parkway.
This would become an expressway with on-off ramps. So the 1000 East, where Tropical Smoothie Cafe and the Motel 6 is, that would become an full-on interchange with on-off ramps, so that those businesses around there would all go away, and you would design on-off ramps. The new switch point would go away. Access to Pioneer Park and the Water District's gardens would be a right turn only off of the expressway, and then you'd be right turning out into 55, 65 mile an hour traffic.
Another alternate route would make one-way streets in St. George.
Is making Boulevard a one-way street from I-15 going to Bluff, and making 100 South a one-way street from Bluff coming back to I-15 with an interchange there. The fact that in the last 20 years we built an elementary school and a library, Town Square Park is less than 20 years old with that renewal. That makes business access harder. Traffic moves at a lot faster pace.
Clarke says since Washington County has been left out about the Northern Corridor, it may come down to who sits in the White House during the next election.
Because when you change administrations, the first thing they do on public land stuff day one is they say freeze everything, don't finalize any decisions, we want to review everything to make sure it's in line with what we do. So nothing happens for the first 6 months, and that makes sense.
Clarke believes the 2009 Public Lands Act is very clear in coming up with a solution to the issue of traffic problems foreseen in the coming years. In Washington County, Melissa Anderson, Community Education News.